The artistic inevitability lies in the complete adequacy of the external to the emotion. And this is precisely what is deficient in Hamlet. Hamlet is dominated by an emotion which is inexpressible because it is an excess of the facts as they appear. And the supposed identity of Hamlet with his author is genuine to this point, that Hamlet's bafflement at the absence of objective equivalent to his feelings is a prolongation of the bafflement of his creator in the face of his artistic problem. From Hamlet and His Problems by T.S. Eliot.
To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is here to is a consummation devoutly to be wished. To die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, there's the rub, for in the sleep of death what dreams may come, when we have shuffled off this mortal coil must give us pause. There's the respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the pressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of disprized love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that a patient merit of the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quietus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fathers bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life? But that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country from whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have, than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience does make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is secret awe with a pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pitch and moment with this regard their currents turn awry, and that lose the name of action.
This is the Prince Hamlet we met.
Hamlet speaks not only for himself, but for humanity as a whole. He expresses how life is just pain and suffering, and how suicide will be the best option to end it all. But also does not take his own life away because he fears what could be awaiting for him in the afterlife, if there even is such a thing. It gives an insight into human nature, because we tend to seek for simpler and safer solutions, but in some cases our fears, and at times also our survival instinct, stop us from taking a certain approach. So, in my opinion, Hamlet is not a hero and not a coward. He's just human.
We cannot define Hamlet coward because his doubt does nothing but show his weakest human side that often people are not able to admit. At the same time, he is not even brave because he wants to surrender.
At first Hamlet seems brave. He finds the courage to deal with his troubles, and he gives voice to his deepest thoughts. To me, it's very mature to admit that there exists a problem that cannot remain unsolved, and in particular to realize that he needs a drastic change in his life. Here there's the rub. Does death have to be the answer? In a second time, the coward side of Hamlet comes out. He spends too much time doubting and he cannot see what is the best choice. He is convinced that death can once for all solve his own problems, but he is scared because he doesn't know what there is after death. The undiscovered country from whose bourne no travel returns.
Hamlet is not a coward because time goes on, and a choice was eventually taken. And it is anything but weird that the more difficult the choice, the longer it will take to choose. But how can we call him a hero? The duty to choose is something we all have, and it is necessary to survive. Should we all call ourselves heroes? Definitely not.
I think that Hamlet is neither brave nor a coward. What he did and talks is justified by his painful situation. We cannot condemn as a coward someone who, before making a choice, faces his feelings and admits his deepest fear. However, he cannot be defined as a courageous. He's human and normal.
He is neither a coward nor a courageous man, but instead someone very intelligent that thinks instead of being impulsive. Thinks of the weight of his actions. But it is obvious that Hamlet is not the stereotypical hero one could find because of the lack of this characteristic that are usually present in one. He still shows the bravery and logical reasoning through such a heavy situation, stopping to think instead of panicking. What is seen as a flaw, even by Hamlet himself, is also one of the best qualities one could have.
Hamlet, through the use of reason, understands that life is suffering, but that death could be much worse. Reason makes him courageous, that is, capable of facing the deepest doubts of humanity, without making the coward act of suicide.
Even if Hamlet is young, he has the courage to admit difficult and delicate things. Despite all his actions, he shows that he is not completely weak and does not give in to the idea of suicide. Through his words, Hamlet is able to understand people, including me. He expresses a rational thought which not everyone is able to convey in the same way and that many people have or have had at least once in their life. I find Hamlet a brave young man who managed not to take a dramatic action and who did not let himself be taken by the impulse of such great doubt.
Hamlet is courageous because he's able to analyze his own interiority. Cowards are those people who are afraid to ask themselves questions because the answers might be inconsistent with the models imposed by the liquid society in which we live, where, as Zygmunt Bauman says, the only certainty is the absence of certainties. We are afraid to be nonconformist, judged, and out of our time. Fear of becoming brave explorers capable of facing reality and the people around us.
Nobody said that it always has to be easy, because every human has his fears, but they do not have to be regarded as weakness, because it is from fears that we grow up and become brave enough to choose life.
Hamlet thinks a lot about important actions before taking them. This can make him look like a coward, as he can seem indecisive. On the other hand, he makes sure his father's killer is his uncle, and that revenge is appropriate. He also manages to avenge his father and to complete his goal. In reality, each person, some more, some less, has his moments of indecision in the vicinity of important actions. It is then up to each person to be able to complete them, and Hamlet has succeeded, so he's not a coward. Albeit a bit indecisive, he's still a bit brave.
Being able to enter in one's head and debate with one's inner self is not something for everyone, let alone express personal doubts and feelings. People like Hamlet, however, often due to their nature, are led to rationalize and contemplate even the most insignificant things, aware of how stressful, dangerous for their mental health, and sometimes concretely and useless it is. In this lies his courage.
Thinking about some of my past experiences, if I could see myself in the third person, I would give me a big hug and I would say, just to live, because all these sufferings today will lead you to have an armor tomorrow. And so I did, I chose to live. Apparently that may be the solution to our problems, but even if it is Hitler, there is still a better one than this. So choose to live and learn from everything that happens to you, because every little teaching is a piece that will take you on this wonderful journey that everyone calls life.
Nobody who feels pain and sadness should be seen as a coward. Every moment in which we choose to resist, to not give up, we're actually fighting, even though it looks like we're not taking actions.
Hamlet is brave because thinking so deeply is unusual for the majority of people. People usually avoid it because they fear encountering thoughts that make them feel very bad, finding truths that they do not want to accept, but also because thinking so much hurts them, sometimes leading to paranoia which causes anxiety. Reasoning makes us move from the state of natural happiness to the state of unhappiness. On the other hand, Hamlet can also be considered a coward because he does not fully accept the complexity of life, including the sufferings, and he thinks of the shortcut of putting an end to life. It is often easier to escape from problems by choosing a final extreme solution.
We can figure out that Hamlet is a coward due to the fact that he believes that the solution to avoid society's problems is death. But the fact that there is no knowledge of what is beyond that stops us from taking our lives and allow us to bear the burden that we have in earthly life. This way of thinking then makes Hamlet a coward, because due to the fear of non-knowledge of the afterlife, he prefers not to do anything.
Hamlet seems to resent his own incapacity to act and to put an end to his life because of his conscience. In fact, death would be preferable to life's suffering if man was not scared by the thought of what there may be beyond it. It is this what makes coward of man and takes away the will to act.
The soliloquy clearly illustrates how Hamlet chooses to live only because he is afraid of what might be after physical death. So the only adjective that can represent this choice of his is undoubtedly a coward. Hamlet decides not to end his existence out of fear and does not have the courage to make the only gesture that would have made him really free.
Hamlet is a coward. He knows he will not kill himself owing to the fact that he is frightened of the afterlife. He lists all the reasons why is it better to die and to shuffle off this mortal coil. The only obstacle is fear. He cannot kill himself, but in the meantime he cannot stop thinking about it. His cowardice is in the inability to make a decision because of the fear of the consequences.
How can we consider a hero someone who spends the majority of the play thinking but then ignores all of his reasoning when he actually acts? At this point, I believe that by asking himself questions, Hamlet is not actually trying to understand what is right or wrong, but he's rather attempting to make up excuses for his lack of conviction. He is not confronting his thoughts, he's being carried away by them, and again he's being absolutely passive.
No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. I'm an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise the prince, no doubt an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, politic, cautious, and meticulous, full of high sentence, but a bit obtuse, at times, indeed almost ridiculous, almost, at times, the fool. I grow old, I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled.
No, non sono il principe Amleto e nemmeno ero destinato a esserlo. Uno dei tanti cortigiani, atto a rimpolpare il seguito, dare l'avvio a un paio di scene e consigliare il principe. Mai polemico, certo, anzi ossequioso, lieto di rendersi utile, prudente, cauto e scrupoloso. Abile a intessere un elogio, ma un po' ottuso. A volte addirittura quasi ridicolo, se non il buffone di corte. Io invecchio. Sarà meglio che porti l'orlo dei pantaloni arrotolato.
Essere o non essere, questo è il problema. Se si è più nobile nell'animo, patire i colpi e i dardi della sorte nefasta, o armarsi contro un mare di difficoltà, opponendosi a queste? Morire, dormire, nient'altro. E tramite il sonno, dire che poniamo fine alla sofferenza del cuore e ai 1000 traumi che gli esseri umani sono costretti ad affrontare, una conclusione ardentemente desiderabile. Morire, dormire, forse sognare. Ah, qui sta il problema, perché quel sonno mortale in cui i sogni possono arrivare, quando ci siamo liberati della vita, deve farci pensare. È questo il dubbio che rende la nostra lunga vita una miseria. Chi sopporterebbe le frustate e le derisioni del tempo, le ingiustizie dell'oppressore, le insolenze dell'uomo orgoglioso, le pene dell'amore non corrisposto, l'indugio della legge, la spavalderia del potere, le offese fatte agli innocenti dagli immeritevoli, quando un semplice pugnale ci concederebbe la pace? Chi porterebbe questi fardelli, a grugnire e sudare, oppressi da una vita faticosa, se non fosse che il terrore di qualcosa dopo la morte, il paese inesplorato dalla cui frontiera nessun viaggiatore ritorna, confonde la volontà e riesce a farci sopportare i nostri mali interiori, invece che condurci in altri luoghi che ci sono ignoti. È così che la conoscenza ci rende tutti vigliacchi, e così il colore naturale della decisione è reso malsano dal pallido incarnato del pensiero, e imprese di grande ambizione e importanza, a tale proposito, deviano le loro correnti al culmine del loro corso e perdono il nome di azione.